Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the hard work of our witnesses and the men and women that they represent, who are key members of our communities. We must train for disasters, and I fully support efforts to train our first responders. As a former mayor for 11 years, I know how important this is. I've supported firefighters grants, cops grants, regional information sharing system, so I certainly understand that. But we must also work to prevent a terrorist attack. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And my good friend Michael Cutler, who was an ICE agent, would tell me when it comes to terrorism, an ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. You know, the best thing that we can do to help our first responders is to prevent a terrorist attack in the first place. Now, the 9/11 Commission report was given to Congress to do just that, to make recommendations of what we can do to prevent another attack. It was passed by Congress and signed by the President. The first paragraph of the preface of the 9/11 Commission staff report on terrorist travel begins with the following paragraph. It is perhaps obvious to state that terrorists cannot plan and carry out attacks in the United States if they are unable to enter the country. Yet prior to September 11th, while there were efforts to enhance border security, no agency of the United States government thought of border security as a tool in the counterterrorism arsenal. Indeed, even after 19 hijackers demonstrated the relative ease of obtaining a U.S. visa and gaining admission into the United States, border security is still not considered a cornerstone of national security policy. Now, the 9/11 Commission study on terrorist travel went on to detail numerous examples of instances where terrorists not only made use of visa and immigration fraud to enter the United States, but also embed themselves in the United States. Page 47 of this report notes, once terrorists have entered the United States, their next challenge was to find a way to remain here. Their primary method was immigration fraud. Now, another paragraph, and this is found on page 98, it said that terrorists in the 1990s, as well as the September 11th hijackers, needed to find a way to stay in or embed themselves in the United States if their operational plans were to come to fruition. Our borders are not secure. We do not have a biometric exit system to identify when someone overstays their visas. And we're not enforcing our immigration laws to prevent immigration fraud. So we have not taken the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission report. My question is to each of you, doesn't this make you nervous?
From the standpoint of New York City, given all the context we've discussed at this hearing, we go to bed nervous every night and we wake up nervous every day. It's a state of being in the post-9/11 world. But to address those concerns, intelligence is, at its simplest, understanding a problem. And good intelligence analysis is understanding it well enough to do something about it. Part of that has to be about being well-placed to collect and analyze.
But if I could just, if intelligence tells us that the best way to prevent a terrorist attack is to stop it in the first place, and we know that terrorists use visa as a method of entry into the United States, and we know that they use immigration fraud as a method to embed themselves, wouldn't intelligence then tell us that we should enforce our immigration laws and secure our borders?
It would, within the government's capacity to do it. You're asking a local official about a federal problem, but I think where I was going with that is we have, as well as people in London, Tel Aviv, Amman, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, NYPD, people embedded within those services to watch issues like that. We also, and I will be meeting with this person after this hearing, have people here at Interpol, but also at Customs and Border Protection. And one of the great relationships we have between the NYPD and the Federal agency, aside from the FBI, is with CBP in terms of keeping track of who's coming in, making sure that suspects we're investigating aren't getting out, and an alert system that goes both ways on that. And I think that between our agencies, that works very well. The larger problem that you frame is beyond the scope of the NYPD to address.
Chief Schwartz, does it make you nervous that we're not following this report?
Well, Congressman, I would, echo the Commissioner's observations that there's a lot about international travel that, that has me concerned, and that's one element that, the one you're describing is unfortunately one that I have little influence or control over. As concerning to me is the people, the legitimate people in this country who are, potentially traveling to areas of conflict right now, picking up tactics, techniques, and procedures that they might bring back here and use. And as the Commissioner indicates, our ability to get the intelligence on those folks and properly prepare.
I understand. I appreciate that. It's remarkable the intelligence of what we're being able to do. But aren't we missing step one, is to prevent it in the first place? If we can stop an attack from someone even coming here and embedding themselves here, shouldn't that be a priority?
Congressman, I wouldn't argue your point. Absolutely. It's just that from where I sit, I have little influence on that.
Chief Fuller?
Well, as you said in the beginning, ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. Can't disagree with that. I guess, as far as, my influence as a local EMS provider is a little bit, not much when it comes to international travel or those type of matters. Sure.
But isn't the best thing we could do for the EMS is to not put them in harm's way in the first place?
Oh, sure, because our response is based on having to respond to something and consequence management, which we have to plan.
Dr. Jackson?
I mean, certainly the challenge here is understanding the right approach to get the most benefit towards this problem. Immigration and border control is one part of that, but as we've heard about interagency relationships, really this is a systems problem. And we've heard discussions
about. But do you think not enforcing, but again, we're glazing over because there's a political aspect to this, but there's a national security aspect to this, and I get it. I understand the political aspects of it, but I'm worried about our national security, and we should not be playing politics with the security of the American people. If we know that terrorists embed themselves in the United States and use immigration fraud as a way to do it, should we be doing that?
Well, certainly immigration and border protection is one part of this overall system, but there's a resource question here, and it's a question of where in that system and investment in the resources will get the most safety.
And isn't the way to get the most safety is to not allow them into the United States in the first place? Seems pretty obvious to me.
In the ideal, depending on what the relative price of getting better there versus getting better.
Well, what was the price of 9/11? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Time's expired.